The Bazaar has been in a really interesting spot these days with the release of closed beta, a lot of broken things, a lot of things that we should discuss. Permacrite on this. It's not one-shot build. I don't know, man. It's all one-shot builds. What am I supposed to do? A lot of news and a lot of things that they plan on changing. So I'll cover all of it. I'll cover the most broken interactions right now and kind of what's been happening and the news that I got from Reynad. He jumped in my chat and he gave me some like feedback on questions that I asked him. So I'll put those throughout the video as well. The first thing I want to talk about is some of the broken builds in the game, the most OP stuff that is kind of frustrating because I try to cook up all these cool interactions and insane builds that scale out of control and have all of these nice things, but most of the time I just die in a couple seconds. So if you play ranked and you get to the later days and the later stages, usually you're gonna end up being like one shot by a Vanessa build. So what's very common is Vanessa, just buy a bunch of weapons, get the attack up as high as possible and kill your opponent as fast as possible. That's the most viable strategy, and that's why Dooley right now is the worst character. So Dooley is my favorite. It has probably the most cool synergies that you can do and like out of the box comps. Every time I played Dooley, the game played completely differently. But yeah, every time I play Dooley, I also only make it to day 5 or 6 simply because then there is a Vanessa that just one-shots me before I even have a single item trigger. And I try to counter it by implementing a lot of freeze and a lot of like starting slow and things like that, but that doesn't even matter. So yeah, Vanessa also one of the most common played characters, one of the easiest to play, and has the strongest early game. Usually in the first couple rounds, if you're gonna face a Vanessa, you can expect really high damage numbers that also kill you pretty quickly. So I don't even try and win the first couple days anymore unless I'm Vanessa myself, which is fine. The prestige early isn't even that high, so a valuable strategy is to actually just greed early, get a lot of economy, lose the first couple days and lose like, I don't know, 5 or 6 prestige and just move on with your life. Another really broken build that I've seen being played mainly by Crip, but I also played it myself today. This was when Reynad joined the chat, is the Dam build. Which is basically you have a dam, you have a triple trigger on it, and then you have triple trigger small aquatic items that charge your dam up immediately. So it is a 24-second cooldown, but you can trigger it in literally a couple seconds. It will wipe out the entire like board of your opponent always, and then there is nothing they can do. You just win because you still have all of this like survivability items. It's broken. I'll probably upload the game if you want to see how to do it. They're probably gonna change it though, but it's the most interesting Exodia kind of build that you have. There's also property one-shots. This is probably the most toxic thing, is also the easiest to pivot into, which is just a big ass building that you play in a pig, usually combined with like value. So increasing value of items and properties and scaling it up, and then you get 100,000 armor, you one-shot people. It's super stupid. It is the main thing that kills it for me, that kills the game, because it's really hard to counter. The only way to counter is having like a bunch of instant freeze, and even then you still gotta kill them in time before they unfreeze. So it doesn't really have a great counter, and it's super broken. If you want to get 10 wins with a run, that's usually how you do it. Other than that, you're not really gonna get there because you will just face it. But yeah, those are all things that they're gonna look at though, because Reynad said while I was playing the Dam build that there was some bug. I tried to like buff a freeze item, but instead I tried to buff the Dam. That's because the Dam and the friends and family playtest, which is like playtest before the closed beta, used to work differently. The Dam used to freeze stuff instead of destroy stuff, and there's still an interaction there that is kind of broken. But they said they will fix the worst of the balance stuff in the first patch, so the first patch should be here soon. Hopefully all of the things I just described are gonna be balanced down. And the reason why stuff is so broken is, like he said, in the friends and family, the building stuff, like the properties with Pygmalion, weren't really played a lot. Pygmalion, I think, was the lowest pick rate hero, so people didn't really play with it much. There weren't that many one-shot builds, so that's why he overbuffed them. Now people are finding out that it's good, and obviously people are just spamming it because everyone is competitive and everyone wants to win the game, right? Another really big issue right now with the playtest that is probably the most annoying and that I get the most like feedback on, that I see in Discord, that I see in chats, is the servers. I mainly the EU servers. People on the America servers don't have many issues. They still have issues, but not as many. But on the EU servers, there's just so much trouble even getting in it, making an account, logging in, and getting to play the game. Everything is super laggy, especially during peak hours when everyone is playing. You don't get chests for completing ranked rewards, which is a really big deal. Your tickets are kind of messed up. If you finish a game, you cannot start a new game. You're in an infinite loop where it will try to resume a new game. So you have to concede in order to, you have to resume the game, concede, and then you can pick a new character and play again. All of these are obviously really bad for the quality of life for people that paid to play the game right now. But I guess that is like expected if you opt in for a closed beta. Even if you pay for it, that things aren't gonna like be as smooth and work out. But it's just a little bit annoying, you know. It's what people are complaining about the most, and is their top priority with the next patch. They said today, as I'm recording this, probably before I'm uploading this, or no, after I'm uploading this, they will probably do the patch, which is going to be at least the server side issue and the chest stuff and things like that for the people in EU. And I think hopefully with that is also going to be the first balance patch. And what's kind of funny is as I was recording this, they are deploying the patch. Yeah, there you go. This is how quick they're acting apparently in a couple of days. So if there's going to be big issues in the future, it looks like it might just take a couple days before they're resolved. One thing he said he wanted to try for the dam, so this is kind of a leak of what we can expect for the next patch. He wants to try a diamond native, meaning it only spawns with the diamond border. You can't get a golden and then upgrade it, so it's harder to get. It has a 20-second cooldown, charges 1 second. Right now it charges 2 seconds, which is way too broken. And it will destroy all enemies' small items. So only small items, meaning it doesn't counter big stuff, so it will be really good against Dooley again, and maybe against Vanessa. Really bad against other Pygmalions who just play properties as well, but it's interesting. He said destroying large items should be rare. I do agree with that, but at the same time, that means that this massive item that you invest to, that you build your entire board around, is going to be useless against like maybe half of the matchups. So in that case, it would feel pretty bad if you face one guy who has just only medium to large items, and then the dam does nothing. So I think the item will see no play with this change. Again, we'll have to see how this plays out. Because one cool thing I think that the game still needs to evolve into is stacking and counterplay. When you have your stash and you just put like certain items in there. Now when you see, oh, I'm facing Dooley, I can probably put the dam in. He has a bunch of small items, I'll do this. If you face a Pygmalion, you can maybe put other items in, better tech items like freeze, and then change your build up. So I think once the game gets more advanced and people get better, it'll probably be about seeing the matchup and then having items in stash that you can switch out, and then maybe the dam sees playing. That is mainly what Reynad shared with me in the chat. I also want to quickly go over the reception of the game so far by many streamers and by audiences. So I'm going to show some clips in a second of like Dog and other big streamers that I know played like Backpack and Hearthstone and a bunch of other strategy games, what their take is on the Bazaar so far, because I think it's really interesting, and then I'll give my take. But the reception from people in general seems that it is either like one of the best games ever or just not much different than other games. Some people really don't like the artwork, but I feel like most people really love the artwork. So it's interesting how everyone is really divided on the game and no one seems to sit in the middle. Like people are either really liking it or either saying they don't feel any like connection towards it. Also, the like numbers for this closed beta playtest are a bit weird, like compared to, for example, the Backpack Battles open beta. When that released, that had way more hype than this game has right now. But it's hard to compare it because I see a lot of people compare it. That's why I'm bringing it up, because that was an open beta. It was free to play. It was on Steam, easily accessible. So with that many people playing the game, obviously they want to see good players, they want to learn about builds, they want to see content, and that's why that open beta, that release, probably did a lot better. Well, for this, it's kind of expensive to play this month in the closed beta. It's really hard to understand what's going on if you don't learn the items or spend a lot of time in it. So I can see why a lot of viewers are not really like hyping this up as much or being as invested. And all of this is just more context of like how the release is going, right? Like what the perception is of people. Anyway, enough yapping. Now here's what the streamer said.
Compared to Backpack, it seems like a lot less depth in the, obviously in the positioning and the general synergies and stuff. Like there's more interesting stuff happening between the fights, but there's also like super high variance, it feels like, in the between fight events. Sometimes even in these fights, right? Even if you know what you can get, you get a random skill or item from what you defeated. So there's a lot of variance in what you get. There's a lot of variance in the shops because you can only reroll once, so you only see a total of 6 items. Skills you can totally whiff. Like there's a lot of opportunity to just like whiff or make your build turbo OP overnight. So it's like, I don't know, it feels too swingy right now for me, but it's not bad.
The combos and stuff are pretty fun, but the end game always just seems like OTK shit or like countering it, and it's kind of weird because there's no counterplay. So the game plays like super auto pets, but then you have to know like all like the depth of it. There is depth, but you can't even counterplay what you're up against. So then it's like, I don't know, it just feels like a crapshoot if you're trying to play for serious, and then you have to know so much for a game that's like similar to super auto pets in terms of PvP depth. Just feels weird.
And then my take, what do I think of the game? So I've been asked many times to describe it by like other Hearthstone players and stuff, and I usually say it's a mix of Hearthstone Battlegrounds, Backpack Battles, and Slay the Spire, which makes it perfect for me because I've loved every few of those games. I've made content for those games. Basically, the similarities are in Backpack Battles, you have the asynchronous battles, you have infinite turn timers, you have the positioning a little bit, although Backpack has way more of a skill ceiling when it comes to that. The positioning is kind of minimal here. Kind of important, but there's not like that much that goes into it. Also, the gold mechanics, like I think it takes a lot from Backpack and does it better, but some things it does it worse simply because it doesn't like it's somewhat limiting. Then compared to Slay the Spire, it basically just goes on an adventure, so it feels really good to play. It is pretty long. That's another thing that is either positive or a negative depending on how you look at it, but the games are really long because you go through this journey that basically makes every game feel really fresh and really new. There's a lot of decisions. That's why I think the skill ceiling is high, because there's so many decisions to make and so many things that instantly could guide you in a different direction and a different path that's better. And I think there's a lot of different play styles that you can go with, which is either like greedy, you try and pivot into something, or you commit to an early item, or you see something or look for a vendor. I think there's a lot to the game that right now you can't really see because in this closed beta a lot of things are limited, the balance is off, things like that, but that will improve. And then the Hearthstone Battlegrounds, because I mean it's an auto battler, right? You have stuff just fight each other. The difference between Hearthstone Battlegrounds and this game, I would say, is mainly in Hearthstone Battlegrounds you scale and do a lot out of combat, while this is mainly about the synergies as well. I know in Hearthstone Battlegrounds you also have the board synergies, but here it feels more similar to Backpack, where you go in a fight and things scale with each other and do their stuff. When Hearthstone Battlegrounds, it's mainly sometimes just put big stats in, put poison minions in, and they go into each other. Although there is some builds that do this, mainly in Pygmalion, where you just scale a big guy, right? But I think they're less common. I mean, right now they're more common, but I think they will be less common. So I'm liking it. It's the perfect game for me. I like just every game being able to be flexible, it being harder to force stuff, even though right now it seems kind of easy to force stuff because you can just lose all the early fights, hit one or two good late game items and just like go with that. But yeah, if the game just focuses on that, I think it's gonna be probably my favorite game so far out of all of the things that I've mentioned, but we'll see. That is my take. That is basically what's been going on with the beta, what is broken. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more Bazaar content in the future, and hope you have a good day.